Right, hello guys, you're watching Girl 2, and today we're going to do a review of Sarah Jane Adventures episode Series 4. So we've reviewed Series 1, we've reviewed Series 2, Series 3, and now today we're doing a review of Series 4. And next week we will be reviewing Series 5, the last Sarah Jane Adventures. And then we're on to Classic Month, and we're reviewing loads of classic Doctor Who episodes. And then we're reviewing Class. We're reviewing Class, and then we're also going on to does Class deserve a second series, and so on. And then we're going to more into Doctor Who episodes and reviews and rankings. So there's a lot to come towards the end of the year now. So yeah, let's get on to it. So Sarah Jane Adventures Series 4. The first one, The Nightmare Man. What a brilliant way to start a series. Luke is he's having visions of some nightmares which he hasn't had since the invasion of the Bane, and he's going off to uni and the big life and working and stuff like that, and Sarah Jane's having to move on, and we're seeing how she copes with losing losing Luke, and Luke feels like they all want him to go. He feels like he's having nightmares of his worst, of everyone just wanting him to leave and stuff like that. And yeah, it's an interesting one. And then the Nightmare Man itself is incredible. The guy who plays the Nightmare Man actually plays Davros and has played a few other stuff throughout the time. He's really good. I absolutely bloody love him. And the Nightmare Man is incredible. I really enjoy this episode, this story, everything about the Nightmare Man trying to trick Luke and then feeding off Luke, and then bam, Luke's trapped in his nightmares. Then he's after Clyde and Rani, and then they're getting trapped in theirs, and you get to see their sort of scenarios. Clyde feels like he's never going to make up to something, and he gets the boringest job with Sarah Jane constantly going, "You're not as good as Luke, are you?" And then you've got Rani getting her dream job, but doing the worst thing she could do with her dream job and expose Sarah Jane, which actually is an episode we could have got in the exposure of Sarah Jane Smith with another news reporter, which is interesting. Then we have Sarah Jane all on her own. Her biggest fear is being on her own. Clyde, Luke, Rani, they're not waking up, and the Nightmare Man has arrived and taken over, and "You will go back to your rooms," with the way he speaks is so interesting and funny, but comedic, but dark, and the way he does it, his performance is incredible, and a brilliant villain for Sarah Jane Smith. And then the Nightmare Man gets locked up in his own dreams, which is interesting. And we also, the Nightmare Man's been around for like a year torturing Luke, and Luke can't say it. There's this, he can't speak, he can't say the word, and that's the interesting thing. So, 10 out of 10 for that episode, and it is a 10 out of 10 for me. Next up, The Vault of Skruldash, episode 2. We've got Men in Black, and we've also got shape-shifting, the original, I've forgotten his name actually, let's look at my notes. Androvax, yes, the shapeshifter from the last series. He's dying from a prisoner who bit him in the Shadoon prison, and he wants to save his people. There's a vault he needs to get to, and the Men in Black are protecting the vault, and anyone who knows about aliens are getting their mind wiped, leaving to burp, which is a sad thing because no one takes us seriously, but it is also, you're going to call your group burp, better in than out, you know. Yeah, it's an interesting one with Sarah Jane trying to defeat the Men in Black, which is interesting. Where's Will Smith? Yeah, and then we also have so many brilliant scenarios in this, and we get to see the shapeshifters yet again. I love a good shapeshifter monster. It's so good. I love it in Torchwood as well, shapeshifters, or in Doctor Who. We get Rani's mom getting taken over, and then Rani's mom dealing with the last time she saw aliens was the Shadoon and Androvax, and Androvax is just wanting to save his people, and he does in a way. I think he escapes with his ship, with his family, but he also wanted to destroy Earth, and he didn't care if it destroyed it to save his own. And he jumped into Sarah Jane, he jumped into Rani, he jumped into Clyde, he's jumping into everyone's bodies, and it's just a fun little story of the Men in Black working against Sarah Jane and then working with Sarah Jane towards the end, and then Rani's mom forgetting everything. 8 out of 10. Next up we have Death to the Doctor. Yes. So we have unit music in this. I can't do the music, but Murray Gold's music of the unit was in this, and I was like, oh, I know that theme tune, because it's such an iconic one. Once you get into the New Who era of the show, we have that music, and you just know what it is instantly, and you see these trucks pull up into Sarah Jane and say, I'm sorry, but the Doctor is dead. And Sarah Jane refusing to believe that, because she just felt like she would know if it happened, and so did Joe Grant, or JoJo isn't. I call her Joe Grant. She's always Joe Grant in my eyes. Yes, and she's lovely. So then we've got on to Joe Grant and Sarah Jane then talking to each other. Such a lovely little thing. Clyde finally getting to go to unit. The Brigadier stuck in Peru, the usual. Then we have Sarah Jane and Joe Grant talking about her memories, Cybermen, Daleks, the Loch Ness Monster. There's so much to go off, and there's so much to talk about. And Abaddon, and the 3 Doctors get little cameos as well. The memories, memory weave, and they're all what the villains are in this. They've took over units and trying to get the TARDIS key, and they're pretending the Doctor's dead, so these people can mess up time and no one dies, which is an interesting one to go down, but it will wreck time completely. But the unit soldier who's wants to see the universe is tricking unit and tricking Sarah Jane and all that, so she can get what she wants with her greed, and then she dies, and the aliens get blown up because the machine, Sarah Jane and Joe Grant, overload the machine with memories, and boom. And that's the end of the story. Well, it could be. They could have ended this with, yes, being deaf to the Doctor, but they could have not included the Doctor in the story, and it still would have worked. The fact that they even added the Doctor into this was so much better and so much lovely. But they could have ended it with just memories and with Joe and Sarah Jane, and that would have still worked with the story. It still would have been justified. But we got the Doctor, and now we get to see Clyde and the Doctor swapping places with the electricity from the TARDIS. I've forgotten what it's called. I did remember it before this video, but forgot it again. I'm going to give up with that. But yes, I really like the Clyde and the Doctor swapping scenario. We're getting hints of Rani and Clyde falling in love. Just saying. And then we've got, then we have something completely different with the 11th Doctor meeting Joe Grant, and that's a lovely little thing. And then 11th Doctor talking to Sarah Jane, and she's like, was he okay in your last body? He looked like he was going, and stuff like that. And then we get references to Rory and Amy in a wedding planet of some sort, and yeah, it's just lovely, and it ties in quite well. The Doctor helps Sarah Jane remember, helps Joe Grant remember. The key, got the machine that was trying to get the key overloaded and killed all the bad guys, and Joe Grant and Sarah Jane hid in the coffin, and that was that. And the Doctor flew off one last time, saying goodbye to Sarah, and this is the last time the Doctor, from TV's perspective, is the last time we see the Doctor and Sarah Jane. And Joe Grant references the Time Lords. And it's the last time we're seeing Sarah Jane and the Doctor. It's quite sad. But the last time we ever see Sarah Jane in the Doctor Who universe is in the End of Time. This story gets a 10 out of 10 from me. An absolute banger. I think Unit could have been used a bit more, but it was good. The grass was fun and different. Or not the grass, you could say it's something else. The blue kind. Anyway, Empty Planet is basically one kid trying to who's got to rule another planet, and these robots are after him and took humanity, and Clyde and Rani are trying to save the day and sort of thing. They're also building chemistry quite a lot there, and you can see them start to grow out and fall in love. I never realised this as a kid, but certainly you can realise it now. And yeah, that's it really. The planet, everyone's gone from the planet. We get to see that reaction from Clyde and Rani, and then when everyone's gone back, and you got to see Rani and Mum's dad start to realise there's something up with this street. And it's a 9 out of 10 for me. Next up we have Lost in Time. Now, Lost in Time, we have Sarah Jane seeing this house that's getting memories from the future and burning and trying to, every time at 8 o'clock at night, I think it is, and they change the clock to try and repeat it to save these kids from a burning building. Then we have Clyde and this other boy the boy grows up to fight in the army and gets a Queen medal and stuff like that as honour. And the boy that helps with Clyde is basically sent back in time to stop the Nazis from using this weapon, and then Clyde has to deal with the Nazis, and then Rani has to deal with the Queen, and then she starts to reference Clyde again with the love life was starting to pop up quite a bit, and then we get Sarah Jane, Clyde and Rani all doing their bit and saving it, but Sarah Jane didn't manage to get it. They all needed to get a piece to stop the world from getting destroyed, so Clyde got the police to stop the Nazis from destroying. Rani got the knife to stop the Queen from getting killed too early, and we got Sarah Jane didn't get the key, and this old woman appeared and this key was given and saved the day. And what happened was the Sarah Jane's gang was summoned by this mysterious character we will see again at some point, and the shopkeeper teleports away, and we were working for a parrot. And some old woman gave the key and everything was saved. 9 out of 10. Really loved that we were sent in different directions through time. We got to see one from the past, another from the past, and another from the past. And we got to see that dynamic. And it was such an interesting one, and shows time travel can be done, not just in Doctor Who, but in the Sarah Jane Adventures. 9 out of 10. Next up we have Goodbye Sarah Jane. Ruby is absorbing Sarah Jane. She's slowly taking over, getting into the gang, giving Rani driving lessons, getting all cool sports cars for Clyde to be as distracted by, and Sarah Jane's slowly losing her memory and getting killed and forgetting losing the sonic lipstick and getting people in danger to be killed, and she's losing her memory. And I know someone who lost their memory. It was quite hard to watch at times because it reminded me of a certain scenario, personal, and yeah, it was quite, with Sarah Jane losing memory, it was quite hard to watch, but I thought it was done well, it was performed well. Sarah Jane was performed incredible, and you definitely knew this isn't how our Sarah Jane reacts, and she's acting completely differently, and Ruby's taken over and absorbing her, and then she absorbs Sarah Jane. Sarah Jane gives commands to Ruby. Suddenly Ruby flips to a darker side and takes Sarah Jane, and then Clyde works it out and he gets sent to space, and we get to see, and he hasn't been sent to space since series 1, so that was an interesting one, I do believe. And then we get Rani. I think we can start to see a lot of dynamic between Clyde and Rani at this point, and we get to see that scenario play out. She's also upset about Sarah Jane, and then Luke comes aboard. Where's my mum? And we've got to find her, and Luke's on it, and K9 and Mr. Smith are using technology to overload her from feeding the Ruby feedings from Sarah Jane too much. She starts to get overfed by the population with all these 3D images destroying the Earth, and it's interesting in too much information, and it doesn't splurge. It just goes, zzz, and then Clyde goes, "Oh look, it didn't splurge," and he's got it all over his face because it's classical Clyde getting caught up in splurge. I love it. Everyone saves Sarah Jane. Luke saves Sarah Jane. Rani saved Sarah Jane. Rani's starting to use the Sonic quite a lot now. I can see her like a predecessor for Sarah Jane to take over the mantle. And we have Luke coming back for a certain scenario, and K9 and Mr. Smith saving the day. And Sarah Jane's just happy to be back and happy to have her memories back by towards the end of the episode. And Clyde's teleported off the spaceship to save the day at the end, and it's just lovely. And yeah, there we go. We see them as a team, and I'm going to give this story a 10 out of 10. Goodbye Sarah Jane Smith was a 10 out of 10. And a fun fact was, when this was airing, I didn't know the order of the Sarah Jane Adventures because there was quite a muddle. At this point, I think we heard that Sarah Jane passed away, or just passed away, and when these aired, and I thought this was the actual last ever Sarah Jane Adventures story, but it weren't. We've got series 5 to go through with 3 more. Now, I did see these 3, but I also thought Goodbye Sarah Jane was after these 3, so it was part of series 5. But I don't know why I thought that as a kid, but it was. I think it would have been a better ending for Sarah Jane Adventures if it did end on this episode, but obviously it didn't. And we've got 3 more stories left to review for Series 5 next week. So stick around for my review of Series 5, the last Sarah Jane stories, and then we go on to something completely different. We go into class, we go on to classic reviews of Doctor Who episodes, and we go on to more Doctor Who. So thank you guys for watching. Don't comment, rate, subscribe, and I'll see you guys for another video very soon. Have a nice day.